Graham, the back pain professor, and today we're going to talk about disc degeneration. And what I did is I broke this topic up in 3 different sections. The first section is going to talk about the anatomy of the disc and how it works and things like that, and how we actually get degeneration. So without further ado, let's go ahead and look at the lumbar spine, because that's what I see degenerating the most. So here's the lumbar spine, otherwise known as the low back. And here's some of the parts of it. But the ones we're going to talk about, here's your spinal bones. These 5 things are spinal bones. And in the low back, there's 5 of them. This is L1, L2, L3, L4, and L5. This is the sacrum. Sometimes you've heard the word S1, which would be the very top part of the sacrum. These things in the middle, these blue material, is the disc. Now, in real life, it's not blue, but on this model, it is. Now, let's look at a close-up of the disc. You can see here's the disc right here. It sits in between the 2 spinal bones. And we look at it down. We're looking downwards at the disc. You can see it's made up of a disc, outer covering, and then the jelly material. And that serves as a ball bearing. Now here's a dissection of the disc. So here's your 2 spinal bones, and here's the covering. And this substance right there, there's the jelly, and you can see it's kind of in the middle of that disc where it should be. Now, let's talk about the purpose of the disc. It serves a couple different purposes. One is that it's a shock absorber, and that's important because when we're running and jumping and getting up and down, there should be a little give, and we get that little give because we have these discs. Otherwise, it'd be bone on bone, and you'd probably crush your bones in half. Another purpose is it's a spacer. If this disc wasn't here, that hole where the nerve comes out would be way too small, and everybody walking around on planet Earth would have pinched nerves, and that wouldn't be good. And finally, good discs in the spine allow the spine to be able to flex, bend, and twist. So we can go out and have fun playing golf and things like that. So let's do a riddle. Here's a riddle. What can you do to make your disc last 120 years? Keep your jelly in the middle. Solves the riddle. Now that we know the disc should be nice and thick and the jelly should be in the middle so we can run and jump and bend and twist and turn, let's look at degeneration, because that's what prevents us to be able to do those fun things. So, when the spine moves out of alignment, the spinal bones get jammed up. And when they get jammed up, blood doesn't get through the disc as well, because the blood's going to pump through that thing. And when the bones are jammed up, it prevents full-blown nutritional pumping through that disc. And so what happens is it starts to turn brown and rot out and dry up. So now let's look at a cross section of the disc. You can see it's nice and white like it should be. That's a good disc. That's the kind of disc you want. That disc is going to last a long time. But here's a disc that's too brown. You can see that the nutrition's not been getting through there, and it's degenerating. Now let's look down the disc one more time. You can see there's the outer covering, there's the jelly in the middle, and then here's a degenerated disc. It gets cracks in it, and you can see the disc is starting to want to come out the back. That's degeneration. Now let's look at an x-ray of the disc. If we look here, you can see a couple things. There's the bone right there, and here's the space in between is the disc. So you don't actually see the disc on x-ray. What you do is you see these spaces, and these are really good spaces here. That's what you want. Now look at this x-ray here. See, that's a good space. This is thinning out, degenerating, too thin, and degenerating. That's a bad. This one, and this one. Those are bad discs. They're way too thin. Now let's look at a disc on an MRI. Now let me say this: the good thing about an MRI is it will show what the disc actually looks like inside. whereas an x-ray just shows the space. So you have to draw some of your own conclusions on an x-ray, but an MRI will just show you everything. Of course, it's $1,500, so it should show you quite a bit. So let's look at an MRI of the discs. Here's a side view of the low back. There's L1, L2 space. You can see it's nice and white. You can see the one below it's white. All these are white and thick. And that's good. That means there's a lot of hydration in the disc. And these are the discs that will last a long time. Now let's look at another MRI. See the difference? These are black. And what that means is the disc inside there, although they're thick, they're degenerating inside. And that's because the spine got misaligned or got jammed up, and the good mechanical blood flow is not getting through the disc, so it's not getting nutrition, so it starts to dry out. And when it dries out on an MRI, it's going to look like black. Here's another MRI. You can see this disc is black. Now look at this one. This one's collapsed. There's a bulge, there's a bulge, another collapsed disc, and another black disc. Now these two here collapsed. The reason they collapsed is they've been degenerating too long. The tissue got weak. The weight of the body just collapsed the disc. It just wore it out. It's kind of like a bald tire on a vehicle. I'm Dr. Graham, the back pain professor.